Oh, I'm actually really looking forward to this game tonight. 8 o'clock kickoff live here on talkSPORT. All of the build up from 7. Spurs against Manchester United will wrap up the midweek Carabao Cup quarter-finals. Tottenham and Ange put a stop to their run, will they, of back-to-back Premier League defeats. It was a 5-0 mauling of Southampton on Sunday, wasn't it? A very good performance for them. Saw Russell Martin from Southampton being sacked shortly afterwards. Let's welcome in someone to the show who made more than 400 appearances for Spurs and lifted the FA Cup not once but twice. A very, very good morning to Glenn Hoddle. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Glenn.
Guys. Good morning, guys. How are you? You okay?
All well, mate.
Yeah, fine form, thanks. It should be Alan Brazil. Sorry he's not here for you, Glenn, but great to have you with us. How are you feeling about the game tonight, Glenn?
Don't worry, he bailed out of our Christmas jolly up actually the other day. So
sounds about right, Glenn.
Disgrace, isn't he?
Absolutely, I know. Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to tonight's game. I've got to say, I think it's going to be a really exciting game. Both teams can create against each other. I feel, obviously Spurs have got a few key players in defence that are out, but they're at home, and I think that crowd has got to get behind them. And definitely, if there's ever a night they're going to make a 12th man, I think it would be tonight, and that might balance it up a little bit. But no, I think it's going to be a really exciting game.
They're a funny team, aren't they, Glenn? You must be like I know you're a big Spurs fan. You must be frustrating at times because you look at the league table, 36 goals scored. Only Chelsea scored one more goal than them. Yeah. Apart from Chelsea, they've scored the most goals in the Premier League. They're only 4 points off Manchester City. It's not all doom and gloom, is it? A big result tonight. Then you've got Liverpool at home on the weekend, and you're back on track, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's the league, isn't it? This year, there's so many teams that suddenly you find, Forest were third and Brighton was second at one stage. And I think Tottenham can bounce back in there, and then everyone will be talking about Champions League. There's still a long way to go, Gabby. But no, you're right. There's frustration of the inconsistency is quite incredible. And I don't know whether Ange feels that frustration himself or not. I think he goes down that road sometimes. But sometimes they're scintillating. They can be absolutely brilliant. They've beaten City twice this year, knocked them out of this cup, and they've beaten them well in the league. And then they go and perform, against the lesser teams. It's got to be a mental thing. It's got to be, certain days they're going to get up for the game and others they're not. And that's the problem, and that's the key. That's the formula that everyone's looking for, is that you get consistency then.
And also the penalties that they give away, the Basuma one, the Sarr one. Mm-hmm. If I'm the manager, I'm saying, listen, guys, if you're in the box, passive defending. Do you know what I mean, Glenn? You just say passive defending in the box. Listen, because you got to give penalties away.
Gabby, you're taught that. You're taught that in the academy. You're taught that at 14. Stay on your feet. Assess where they're going. Is there a danger to the goal? And if you, in a split second, you've got to take that in. Yes, I know it's emotional, and it's there's 60,000 there, and you get carried away sometimes. But it's easy for us to say in the light of day. But they're the decisions that hurt you at the end of the day. And if consistently making those sort of wrong decisions, that's going to come bounce back and make you fall down every time. So there's some great performances from Spurs this year, and there's been some awful ones. So it literally, you never quite know what team's gonna turn out. You really don't.
Pure topsy-turvy Spurs, exactly that. And when you're right, when they're great, they're absolutely excellent to watch. I don't know if you heard Glenn, Ange Postecoglou's pre-match press conference yesterday. He spoke about how hard it is to be a manager in the Premier League, it being one of the hardest jobs. He almost compared it to being harder than the Prime Minister's role. Adrian Durham, our voice of live football, said he's completely lost his marbles, and it was nonsense. What do you think about that? Do you have any sympathy with Ange in the job at Spurs?
Well, I've got every sympathy for every manager out there, and I know where he's coming from. But I can assure you, when you're an England manager and you're going to a World Cup for a couple of months, that is when you feel as if you're the Prime Minister and you've got a country on your shoulders. So I'd have to take Ange up on that a little bit, but I understand where he's coming from. As a manager, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you play well, the players have played really well and got the result. If you play poorly and you lose, it's the manager's fault. And that, I think, we all buy into that when we go in as managers. So, but I think it was, I don't know if it was tongue in cheek, but I think, he's an honest guy. He says it as he sees it. But I would think he's frustrated with the way the inconsistency of this year because it must infuriate him. It infuriates us as Spurs fans because, as we just said, they're brilliant one week and they can go in spells in games actually where they're brilliant and then suddenly they go off it. If they have to get a result and they're chasing a game, they can kick into another gear. It really is a strange one at the moment because we've got some good players, and at the end of the day, I think it's a mental thing. It's mentally they've got to become a lot more consistent, a lot more stronger on that side, and be a little bit more confident in their own abilities.
Glenn, the Spurs are playing Manchester United tonight, and I don't know if you've heard all the stuff about Marcus Rashford. Got dropped, obviously, for the weekend, and he's come out and done an interview with Henry Winter saying he wants to leave. You're a legend of the game, Glenn. If you would have a bit of advice for Marcus Rashford, what would it be?
Take a breath. Talk to some people that are really close to him and that he trusts around him. And if he doesn't feel he's got those type of people around him, then go and seek advice from someone he admires and respects. Because he's at what age is he now?
27.
27. He is now hitting his peak, as you know, Gabby.
Yep.
He's got another 4 years of his peak to come, and he can go back into the gear of a few years ago when he was outstanding. Yeah. That bus hasn't gone. He hasn't missed the bus on that. And someone will pick him up, and that Rashford that we know is still available there. Whether he can get it out of himself at United is another thing. He's got to sit down with his manager or the people at the club and really talk openly and see where he goes. He might just he's been there since a kid. I can relate to that, Gabby. Yeah. I was 12 when I joined Tottenham. I left when I was 27. At the end of the day, I needed to go away and play in a different environment abroad. Now, Rashford might want to do that. He might just think I've been here too long. Yeah. The training, the car drives itself to the training ground. Everything. I need a new challenge. But I'll tell you one thing, that there's a player in there still waiting to come out. I'm absolutely 100% sure of that.
And that's the thing, Glenn, with this conversation, with this focus on Rashford, I think a lot of people still want to see him do well, but at the moment it's hard to defend him when he's speaking to journalists instead of speaking to his manager. That's hard to defend him now. Glenn Hoddle, former Spurs manager and midfielder, thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn.
Good luck tonight.
Pleasure, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, mate.
All the best. Thank you very much. Don't forget Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United. 8 o'clock kickoff tonight.
He was, by the way.
Huh?
What a play Glenn was.
Yeah.
Oh. Wherever you want it, make a run, I'll find you.
Oh. In my belly. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock tonight, live here on talkSPORT. Adrian Durham, Sam Matterface and Lioness Ledge, Leanne Sanderson on all of the action.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.